I'm going to give you some insights of the trends 2026. Trends of 2026, the mindset is so different. I saw that for the first time like 12 years ago, no, even 15 years ago, that I didn't get that. I was working in a trend company and they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put ourselves more into the picture. That means we love the frames of grandma and grandpa. We take the pictures out and we put our own picture in. So that was for me like, okay, there's a big shift going on. Now, this year, 2026, what is so new is we will get a different approach on trends. We always had the trend reports, we said, okay, we have 4 trends, right? We've got the modern trend, we've got the classic trend, we've got the natural trend, and we've got the comfort trend, the avant-garde trend, right? Okay. So that was more a trend that you said, well, we're going to feel and you're going to select a trend that you feel comfortable. So we are actually more like following trends. And the trends were made for us just to choose from. You don't have to choose one trend, we also know that. You can say those 2 trends, or the modern and the avant-garde one, that's a little bit me, that's my trend. So in the last 3 years, that changed. So in here, those are the trend colors that what we can expect for 2026. Colors not that vibrant, we have to say that, right? And also, if you go back, what's happening now, we're not really in a vibrant world with wars and everything. So trends always reflects what is happening in the world. So in here, for me, that's the biggest one. Trends are no longer styles. Styles are to be, I'm not saying like styles are to be followed because that's what we teach our students. Do not follow trends, right? We say that to our students, right? Trends are made on the market to inspire people. So trends are up to the market to say, okay, those are the colors we like. Those are the colors we like, not we like, the mass likes. Those are the shapes, those are the forms, those are the textures, and so on and so on. So trends become human responses to changing reality, and it's a really big one where technology is really, really getting in. We got 4 trends. I kept it with the 4 trends, no changes. And only one trend is not really diving into the technology of the AI. Only one of the 4. That's so, so different. In the early days, we had only one trend was diving into AI. Now we've got 3 of them. So we are entering a new terrain as trend development through the dynamic report, as you can see, between humanity and technology. So we have 4 trends and you have to take a position. How do you feel about the trend? Not about the trend, but how do you feel about yourself? So you are not following anymore, which is getting more and more difficult for trends. So the question is, how do we as creators, as floral designers, also how do we communicate to our students to respond on those 4 upcoming trends? So we can have different perspectives to do that. So we welcome it as a co-creator. We can embrace it. We can challenge ourselves as being an authority. So we are entering a new terrain as trend developing through the dynamic reports. That's a really big one. So what we learned from the past, it's not working anymore. So our kind of perspective, how we approach the trends is getting totally different. So 2026 is not a new chapter, but it's actually a really deep shift of the consciousness. And what we also see in the world and in the mass is getting more aware. So we get more conscious in what we do. And that is really the big shift. So the question is, where do we position yourself of what can we do as EMC? Because your students will challenge you. That is for sure. Because when the awareness is growing, when the creativity is growing, when the insight of your students are growing, you have to face them, right? You cannot say, well, I don't know. So in here, what we actually do with EMC, we have like 4 different trends, but we're not calling them trends anymore. We just call them like, how do we position yourself? And the first one is we're going to challenge yourself. And that's actually the first trend. Then the second trend, we're going to embrace the trend. Like, okay, what's happening? We're going to embrace it. How are we going to embrace it? In what way? Third one, we're going to escape. We can say, well, it's not for, we're going to try to escape. And that's actually the one that is not technology-wise. And the last one is it transcendence, what we do. The approach that we do with the next trend report will be totally different. Like I said, the first one, challenge, so positioning and resisting technology. Embracing, you co-create with technology. And 3, you escape, seeking refuge from technology. And then 4, transcend, blurring the boundaries of humans and machine. The last one is a little bit like we were really easy to say we got more feminine trends, we got more masculine trends, right? The femininity is going a little bit out of this one. If you said, okay, most feminine trend is more the challenging one, if you go further and further, you will see it's getting more darker. It's actually not a choice of styles, but a declaration of values. This is so important. What are your values? That means conscious people, they know exactly who they are. They know exactly what they want. They know exactly how to position themselves. They know where they want to go. They have I'm not saying like a master plan, but they really know something like, okay, that's my goal, that's my vision, that's my mission. And those are my values. And that's changing because the more you get aware or you get more consciousness, the more you're going to do it. So we stand actually from this side, 2025, and we go into 2026 on a new area. And it's not only about flowers, right? Here, the 4 different trends. We dive a little bit deeper in the names. The names, by the way, was chosen by Diana. Really good names. Because the names should already declare a little bit, tell a little bit about the trend on itself. Conscious calm, well, it says you really design with intention. Conscious. What is the common factor of the students in EMC? All the students in EMC has a common factor. Why do they sign up for EMC?
They want to grow.
That's it. They want to grow, yes. And then people who doesn't want to grow, and they say, okay, I thought it was like playing with flowers. They eventually go out because they said, okay, oh my gosh, this is a serious program. And if you want to grow, and that means you want to have some certain consciousness or awareness about the language of design. So conscious calm is you're going to challenge yourself. Conscious with intention, but in a very calm way. Bio-Rhythmic, okay, you embrace, but the thing is as the word says, rhythmic and bio, right? You work with nature and so on and so on. Undesigned, very nice name. It is designed, but actually it is designed very, I'm not saying in a sloppy way, but it's designed, it don't have to be like that perfect. It's a little bit undesigned. And then obscure grace, it's dark, but dark with elegance. That's a nice one over here. Those are the main colors, because we always work with main colors and then we work with secondary colors. Colors, the secondary colors are the supporting colors. Right? And sometimes the supporting colors are stronger than the main colors. So conscious calm, as here you can read it by yourself, I will not read it totally. So reference directly, focus on intentional, mindfulness. That's for me, that's the most feminine trend, but it's also more the pastels, the transparency, the smoothness. It's very, very elegant. Very elegant. Like in here, the word like in here, mindful design. That's actually, if you have to put a word on conscious calm, is mindful designing. Bio-Rhythmic, you have to embrace it. Here, the textures are really cool. How you extract from nature, but also from materials is really cool. Reinventing the patterns of nature. That's a little bit, that's a big one. So you go to nature, you see nature and say, okay, that is the pattern, because everything in life is pattern. So if you can analyze, and that's what we do with EMC, we create a language that we can analyze a pattern of a flower, that's for later, of a vase, of a container, of that arrangement. We can step by step analyze, it's decorative, well, it's symmetric, it's decorative, and so on, right? The silhouette is closed, there is no transparency, and so on, the line, and so on, so on. So if you can do that, you can analyze the pattern. Well, if you understand the pattern, then it's up to you to break the pattern and to come up with your own pattern, and that's innovation. So Bio-Rhythmic is a big one to do that. We dive deeper in nature. The other one is Undesigned. You design, but it don't have to be like fitting perfectly. You will see also on the textures, on the chairs, it's like you design, but you design off. That's a little bit the whole idea. And then the last one, the obscure grays. It's dark, but it has also like a little bit that Baroque, Rocco into that. But the emotion as well is like, yeah, let's go off, right? But let's go off, but with a certain elegance. Also, the materials you're going to see, like, okay, this is totally off. The lady, that is totally off, but it's done with elegance. It's a difficult one, right? It's on the other hand, it's like color-wise, it's dark, it's masculine, but finishing-wise, detailing-wise, it's quite feminine. Texture-wise, it's feminine. So it's a very interesting thing what happens here. Let's go a little bit deeper in the first trend. So keywords, fluid emotions, right? Well-being, sensorial intelligence, serenity, and technology. Synopsis. So these are actually the main colors. Those are the secondary colors. So here what you have to remember, that one is like, okay, you design very with an intention, with a goal, right? But very mindfulness, but also, how do you say, is like with a calm spirit. That's a little bit the whole idea. If we just analyze the trend, right, the main colors are here, right? And that's quite interesting if you see what's happening here. So the main colors are, and I'm not saying it's complementary, but almost, right? So that's interesting. It's also like, and then what happens with the secondary colors, they add warmth to it. But actually, it's a cold trend, right?
Very analogous. So.
It's also, yes. So the harmony is quite passive, right? Because everything happens here in the center. The further we go, the further, of course, it goes, the activity will rise, right? Here, the Gestalt closure, yes, that makes sense, right? Because it's all about, we want to control it. Simplicity also makes sense. Order and symmetry. And the harmony on its own is passive, like we said, 3D color palette, warm colors and cool colors. Like I said, the cool colors are the main colors. The warm colors are more the secondary colors. Secondary colors are always not in focus, but are supportive. And then the contrast, yes, like we said, complementary. You can work complementary. That is not a problem here. Yes, but keep it not opposite complement. Like make it not that, the opposite not that big. Otherwise, you're going to lose that passive character. And cold, warm, like we said, contrast. Also light, dark. Flowers are more than colors. There's so much more. If you only work with color, that means you only work in one dimension. Right? We have the dimension of texture. We have the dimension of fragrance. We have the dimension of line. We have the dimension of proportion, and so on, so on, so on. Of course, the color has to be in. The color is the strongest visual language you have on the planet. We all know that, right? But if you can add some 2 extra or 3 extra items, like, okay, you look at the form and the shape, look at this is so, look, the roses, right, are so under control, right, are so decorative, right, it really fits into the story. Shapes and forms, yeah, so gentle, soft bubble, layered, curved, shapes with soft edges, clean lines. Yeah, clean lines is also a big one here. Yes. So that means if we work with clean lines, that means we work with line arrangements. Textures, an example. It's a little bit futuristic, but you see it's nicely weaved to each other. Ripple effects, sculptural surfaces. It's not the basic glass, it's not the basic, we go away from that. Second one, the Bio-Rhythmic. So that's the one that we embrace, so the co-creation with the technology. We embrace what happens, we embrace the AI and so on. So humans are technology merge in a better way. Also with embracing AI, maybe you ever heard about happy mistakes? So happy mistakes, I have to admit, it also happens with me. So I have like a vision, I prompt it, and then Midjourney or another program or whatever gives me an example, and I say, oh, I didn't think about that one. So it really helps you. AI is not developed to make trends, because the AI is always behind. Because AI serves on the knowledge we already given.
Yeah.
So, my point is not like reach out to AI, I'm saying just use AI as a tool to go forward. So that means if you know the trends, if you know what's happening, and you dive into AI, as for instance, like I gave you an example of make me a design, and you prompt it, you said, okay, make me a design with those colors, with those shapes and forms, in that atmosphere, and so on and so on. You're actually using a tool to make your trend visual. Keywords experimentation. What designers are really attracted to that one is the creatives, skilled creatives. So in this trend, they are actually experimenting. They start to think out of the box. They're like, okay, commercial is very important. It is, but it is more than commerciality. There is also a creative mind, and I want to explore that. So there is a kind of a transformation going on. And if there is a transformation, there is a mind shift. And you know what I'm always saying to the students, once we break your mind, it's difficult to get back to the origin of that mindset, right? Here, synopsis, I can pick some, like we invite designers to observe, to deconstruct, to reinterpret natural cycles and grow patterns in their work. So like I said, it's like you go into nature, and that's so beautiful, that's so freaking beautiful. So that means we go back to nature, finally, after so many years. We start to embrace nature again and said, okay, how is nature working? And that's one of the core that we teach in EMC, right? So how is nature working? Nature works symmetry, asymmetric. Think about the shapes and forms. Remember, we've got the sphere, the apple, the orange. Then we got the pear, right? All rounded, one-sided. Then we got dendrobium, remember? Symmetric, only 2D. And then we got finally asymmetric, remember? So everything comes from nature. Then also the design process, how we think about color, form, shape, and then texture, remember? So finally, that is our favorite one actually, right? So, and that's why it makes so much sense that this one is so close to us. If we analyze this trend, yes, of course, it's, as you can see, the colors, okay, also the intensity is quite high of the colors here. So that's a little bit different. The other ones are a little bit, well, the two other ones are a little bit smoky colors. The intensity is lower. This is quite high. Look, that's really interesting. What's happening here with the colors? As you can see in here, we have a 3D color palette, right? They also beautiful merging into each other. The main colors are mostly like cold, but okay, you got the caramel in it. Complementary again. You have lots of blues, but then you have the warm. You have here this one color. You have once again the caramel. So the palette, the color palette is quite big. Proximity for sure. Synchronicity. And that's the most important ones. Emotional outcome, we go more for here in this trend, we go more for curiosity, seeking possibilities to explore, and then we use nature as a source to do that. Flowers that we can use from this one, we focused, of course, more on the flowers on the Kenya partners. That's good, isn't it?
Very good.
Very good, yes. Shapes and forms, interesting, quite interesting. Static lines with dynamic lines. It's a nice combination. So symmetrical, that's a big one in this one here. Everything under control. This is still decorative, even not always, but decorative parallel graphic. For sure, it's closed, so because you don't want to have negative space in your arrangements, right? So the silhouette is closed. Then we have no transparency, as you can see in the designs. So transparency, what happens within the silhouette. Then we have the parallel line arrangements. If we work with flowers, or in disorder, is also a opportunity. And then proportions, we focus on horizontally and diagonally. Diagonally is an interesting one. Why? Because you create more impact. You create more impact, you create more tension, right? And that's also a little bit experimentation, means also like, okay, I want to come out of the box. I don't want to go really like, really safe. So that's why the proportion is also diagonally. Textures, smooth, plant-based, of course, textures. So it is allowed if you make like a container, or you just glue your container, or you cover your container, it's all okay with natural material. So as you can see, it's quite busy. Like this one also, that's a very interesting one. It's like if you blow up a cell of a human being, or if you blow up something like a cell of a plant, you will get in that one. So that can be a very beautiful inspiration as well. The third one, yes, you try to escape. It's luxury, but not really like that fancy luxury. It's more humble. It's more like, okay, down to earth. But it's done with authenticity. The raw factor is big here. You will see it. A lot of raw textures, self-expression, and unrefined beauty is a little bit, okay, the same. Organic is a big word here. Organic. Handmade, also a big one, and also imperfection. So those are really like 3 keywords on that one. The colors, right, again, like I said, that was a little bit last year as well, but now it's like, that is totally new. So those secondary colors are so new. And then I would never, honestly, I would never come up with a color palette like this, because I feel it a little bit out of disharmony, but it's not what I like, it's what the mass like. Trends are made by the mass. Trends are not made by me. But if you make then a design, because I did that exercise for myself when we were doing like a class in Mexico, the fundamentals, I just tried it out, and yeah, somehow it works. But it works if you really respect only this. Those are the main colors. That means 60 to 80% are these colors. And then you cannot use them all. Pick some of them that works with colors. If you do the whole range, the whole rainbow color, it will not work. The quantity contrast will work, yes indeed. Yes, yes. Of course, it depends how, like if you work with these ones all, and then you add something like that, that's definitely quantity contrast. Oh yeah, for instance, like this one here, you see actually, this is 60% if you go for the browns, right? Then you have, if you go back, right, you have the dusty rose, that will be like 30%, and then like, look, I just add a little bit blue into it, and it works. Also in here, in this one, is the nice idea just to incorporate fresh and dried. So it's not new, I know that, but here it's actually, it's allowed and it's supportive. It's really like, okay, you can do that in a combination with the two. And now, of course, repurposed, upcycled, also that's the trend that we can use for that one. Passive harmony, shapes and forms. As you can see, yes, the imperfection is here. Seams they're not really finished, soft rounded edges, but still with sharp corners. Structured elements are combined with more free-flowing components. So you see, it's totally different. But that, in this trend, these kind of shapes and forms, textures, are really, really strong. Textures, yeah. So we go away, the wrinkled, as we can see. Stitching, it don't have to be always with material, because so you can stitching with leaves and so on and so on. Smooth and tactile surface. So like already said, the tactile is so in. So it's like it creates an extra dimension. So try to add that one as well. Unexpected materials, that's one also unexpected materials combination that create textural dialogue, textural emotions. Then the last one, yeah, obscure grays, blurring boundaries of humans and machine. They play with duality, which is good. What we also actually do, the whole program is written on duality. Yeah, it's a little bit fusion, biotech, floristry. It's like I said, it shows the masculinity of the products, but done in a very refined, feminine way. Keywords, sculptural, and that's a cool word, sculptural poetry. Poetry is feminine, right? So you sculpture, but in a very refined way. Craftsmanship is big in here because of the colors. Look at the colors, it's mysterious, and then sometimes a little bit absurd. That means it's a little bit like, okay, it doesn't make sense, but still it makes sense because it's part of the trend. Again, here, I'm not saying color palette, but like this year, the trends are quite close. And here are the secondary, the burnished ruby is so cool with it. So cool. Even the velvet smoke is a little bit more like darker gray in here, but blue. Blue is something that almost all the trends are having blue, but some blues are totally different than the other. What I would say in this one here is drama. It's all about dramatic interplay between light and shadow. Romantic, yes, but a little bit gothic romantic. Look at that color. That is like color wheel, right? You got the colors, they are so far away from each other. It's definitely a 2-color palette, not 3D. It's definitely a active color palette. Continuation, simplicity is in here, is big. Contrast, we got, again, the cold and the warm, but we also can use the quality contrast. So what I did here in that design, actually, the quantity contrast, sorry, I was working here in that area over here, and then whoops, I jumped over here with that single rose, and that single rose was popping out. So just to show the duality, right? And again, the quantity contrasts. As you say, as designers, we know the more you focus on quantity contrasts, the more you put the flower that is in minority to the spot. You uplight it, right? That's also something what we're going to do in here. Look at the container. I used tie rips on this one as well. It's black. It's a little bit mystery, and I asked them to photograph it on a black background, not on the white, because if you put that on the white, you totally lose the feeling. Once again, trends is not about the visual thing anymore. Trends becomes about how do you feel, how do you position yourself into a certain trend. So emotional outcome, this trend is more about provoking touches and hounds. Flowers, yeah, totally different. We have to be careful here, right? Because that's a little bit the exercise that we have now. It's a bit difficult. Do not go for red. Red is not part of the trend, right? So go for, and that was a little bit also my difficulty when I was testing them out in Mexico. That was, whoa, how do I get that color here? Shapes and forms, asymmetrical. As you see, there is no red in it, right? There's no red in this one here, in the visual. So asymmetrical, control again, decorative. In here also, like here we have open and transparency. In the second trend, it was closed and no transparency, so that's totally different. Winding line arrangement, if you work with lines, proportion upwards, that makes also sense upwards. The advantage is like you make it grander, you make it more drama, you make it more bigger, that's proportion upwards. Botanical inspired shapes that appear frozen in time or preserved. Here the texture, yes, distorted, textures with raw, sculptural. Look at that vase. Velvet-like surfaces that absorb light and create depth. That's a big one also. Those are the trends of 2026. So it's something totally different than 2025. Don't you think so? Let's try to come up with something that really shows the trend. That people don't see it anymore, but people should feel it. Like, why did you combine those colors? Why did you combine the elements and principles of design? Why did you work with the dynamics? What is your gestalt? Because this gestalt level is now given by one, of course, the elements and principles of design, right? How you combine, because that's all about the elements and principles of design. The better how you communicate, how you interact with them, the higher the gestalt, because it's all about seeing potential in your products, not only in the flowers and the roses, what you're going to see here, but also in the potential of the elements that you brought with you, right? And how you combine them, and on the way, potential combining, and then interacting. I don't want them to combine, I want that they interact. And on the last one, how we're going to communicate that. That's why we have Alex with us, because we're going to communicate that with our next trend report. This is how, in the floral industry, this is how it works. So you have to know exactly where you want to go. And of course, during your process, maybe you can shift a little bit left or right, but design with attention. Yes, you don't have to make a sketch like all the students do, but if you want, it helps. Yes, of course, do it. But we design with the outcome in mind. And that's how it works. Because your outcome should say, yes, we're in the colors. Yes, we are in a synopsis. Yes, we are in the materials. Yes, we are in the story, and so on and so on. So that's what we're going to do.